The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was abuzz with a palpable sense of unease. Representatives from the most advanced alien civilizations across the cosmos had gathered to address a growing concern: the disruptive activities of the primitive human race on the distant planet known as Earth. Sitting at the ornate circular table, the council members exchanged terse glances and hushed whispers, each representing the interests of their respective interstellar empires. For centuries, the Galactic Council had maintained a delicate balance of power, managing the affairs of the galaxy with an iron fist and an air of superiority. But now, a new player had emerged, one that threatened to upset the carefully constructed equilibrium. Ilof, the venerable ambassador from the Signian hegemony, rose from his seat, his tentacles undulating with an air of authority. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, his voice resonating through the chamber, "the time has come to address the troubling matter of Earth and its reckless human inhabitants. Their recent actions have disrupted trade routes, interfered with our scientific endeavors, and even endangered the lives of our citizens. This cannot be tolerated any longer." A murmur of agreement rippled through the council as the representatives nodded solemnly. Gorthak, the hulking representative from the Clatharian Dominion, slammed his fist on the table, causing the ornate crystal goblets to tremble. "The humans are primitives, barely capable of interstellar travel, let alone diplomacy. They should be forced to submit to our authority, or face the consequences of their defiance." The Galactic Council had long viewed the humans as an inconsequential species, barely worthy of their attention. Earth's limited technological capabilities and perceived lack of ambition had relegated them to the status of a backwater civilization, one that posed no real threat to the galactic powers that be. "The Honorable Gorthak raises a valid point," interjected Vilara, the regal ambassador from the Azurian conglomerate. "These humans have overstepped their bounds and disrupted the delicate balance we have maintained for millennia. A decisive action must be taken to bring them back into line." Nodding in agreement, the council members began to formulate a plan of action. They would dispatch a delegation to Earth, armed with a stern warning and an ultimatum: submit to the authority of the Galactic Council or face the consequences of their insolence. Thylof, the seasoned diplomat, raised a tentacle to silence the growing murmur. "Let us not be hasty in our decision. While the humans may be primitives, they have shown a remarkable resilience and adaptability. We must tread carefully, lest we underestimate them once again." But his cautionary words were quickly drowned out by the clamor of the council, each member eager to assert their dominance and bring the wayward humans to heel. The decision was made. A delegation would be sent to Earth, carrying a message that would leave no room for negotiation or compromise. As the meeting drew to a close, the council members filed out of the chamber, their faces etched with a mixture of determination and apprehension. Little did they know that their actions would soon set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of the Galactic Council, forever altering the balance of power in the cosmos. The news of the Galactic Council's ultimatum to Earth quickly spread across the globe, igniting a wave of outrage and indignation among the human populace. For far too long, the leaders of Earth had watched as the self-proclaimed advanced alien civilizations had dismissed their kind as insignificant, unworthy of the galaxy's attention. In the halls of power, the presidents, prime ministers, and heads of state convened urgent meetings, their brows furrowed with a mixture of concern and determination. The time had come to prove to the arrogant denizens of the Galactic Council that humanity was more than just a primitive species to be trifled with. "They think they can just waltz in and demand our submission," growled President Evelyn Archer, slamming her fist on the table. "Well, they've got another thing coming. We've spent the last decade quietly building our technological capabilities, and now it's time to show these aliens what we're truly made of." The otherworld leaders nodded in agreement, their expressions hardening with resolve. They had long suspected that the day would come when they would have to stand up to the Galactic Council, but they had never imagined it would be so soon. "We need to develop a weapon," proposed Prime Minister Akiko Tanaka, her eyes gleaming with a determined light. Something that will catch them off guard. Something that will make them think twice about underestimating us again. The room fell silent as the assembled leaders contemplated the gravity of their situation. They knew that any overt act of defiance against the Galactic Council would likely invite swift and devastating retaliation. But the time for diplomacy and placation had long passed. The humans were ready to fight for their rightful place in the cosmos. After hours of intense deliberation, a plan began to take shape. The world's top scientists and engineers were summoned, their collective brilliance put to the task of creating a weapon that would shatter the Galactic Council's arrogance and complacency. In the months that followed, the project progressed in absolute secrecy, its very existence known only to a select few. The leaders of Earth worked tirelessly, pouring every resource at their disposal into the development of this game-changing technology. As the Galactic Council's delegation prepared to depart for Earth, carrying the ultimatum that would seal the fate of the human race, the leaders of Earth watched and waited, their fingers poised on the trigger of a revolutionary new weapon. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reverberate through the stars, a clash of civilizations that would forever alter the balance of power in the galaxy. The humans, once dismissed as insignificant, were now ready to shatter the illusion of the Galactic Council's supremacy, using their own ingenuity and determination as the ultimate weapons. In the shadows, the leaders of Earth smiled, their eyes glinting with a steely resolve. The Galactic Council had underestimated them for the last time. Now, it was time for Earth's vicious revenge. The air crackled with tension as the Galactic Council's delegation stepped out of their gleaming transport ship, their robes of office fluttering in the gentle breeze. The human leaders, clad in their formal attire, stood waiting on the tarmac, their expressions betraying no hint of the turmoil that simmered beneath the surface. Ambassador Xylov, the lead emissary, approached the group, his tentacles undulating with an air of authority. "Greetings, representatives of the planet Earth," he began, his voice resonating with a mix of condescension and impatience. "I come before you on behalf of the Galactic Council to deliver a message of utmost importance." President Evelyn Archer stepped forward, her chin held high. "We are listening, Ambassador Xylov. What message does the Galactic Council have for the people of Earth?" Xylov cleared his throat, his eyes sweeping across the assembled humans. "The Galactic Council has grown increasingly concerned with the disruptive activities of your kind. You have interfered with our trade routes, meddled in our scientific endeavors, and even endangered the lives of our citizens. This cannot be tolerated any longer." The president's eyes narrowed, but she remained silent, allowing the ambassador to continue. "Therefore, the Galactic Council has decided to issue you an ultimatum." Xylov paused, his tentacles twitching with a hint of nervousness. "You will cease all such activities immediately and submit to the authority of the Galactic Council. Failure to comply will result in severe consequences." A hush fell over the crowd as the human leaders exchanged uneasy glances. The tension in the air was palpable, the weight of the Galactic Council's demands hanging like a heavy shadow over the proceedings. President Archer stepped forward, her voice measured and calm. "Ambassador Xylov, the people of Earth have heard your ultimatum. However, I'm afraid we cannot accept the Galactic Council's demands." Xylov's eyes widened in shock, his tentacles flailing in disbelief. "You dare to defy the Galactic Council?" he exclaimed, his voice rising in pitch. "We do not recognize the authority of the Galactic Council over our planet," the president continued, her gaze unwavering. "Earth has its own interests and aspirations, and we will not submit to the whims of your council." The ambassador's face contorted with fury, and he raised a tentacle, as if to strike. But before he could react, a blinding flash of light erupted from the crowd, engulfing the Galactic Council's delegation in a searing blast of energy. The human leaders watched impassively as the alien emissaries crumpled to the ground, their bodies convulsing in agony. The air was filled with the acrid stench of charred flesh and the anguished cries of the dying. Xylov, his once imposing form now reduced to a smoldering heap, managed to lift his head, his eyes wide with shock and terror. What have you done?" he gasped, his voice barely a whisper. President Archer knelt beside the stricken ambassador, her expression grim. "This is a message from the people of Earth," she said, her voice low and menacing. "We will not be intimidated, and we will not submit to your council's demands. The next time you threaten us, the consequences will be far more severe." With those words, she turned and walked away, leaving the Galactic Council's delegation to their fate, a grim reminder that the days of human complacency were over, and that a new era of defiance and retaliation had dawned. Panic spread through the halls of the Galactic Council like a wildfire, as the horrifying news of the delegation's fate reached the far corners of the galaxy. The once confident representatives now found themselves gripped by a profound sense of unease, their minds racing to comprehend the implications of this startling turn of events. Xyloth's agonized transmission, barely coherent before the signal was lost, had painted a grim picture. The human weapon had utterly decimated the delegation, leaving no survivors. The Galactic Council, accustomed to the unwavering obedience of lesser civilizations, was now confronted with a chilling reality. The humans were not the meek, easily cowed species they had always believed them to be. In the council chambers, the usually stoic members traded anxious glances and hushed, frantic whispers. Gorthak, the hulking Clatharian representative, slammed his fist on the table, causing the ornate crystals to tremble. "This is an outrage," he bellowed, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. "The humans have dared to strike back at the Galactic Council. We must retaliate with the full force of our military might." Vilara, the regal ambassador from the Azurian conglomerate, raised a hand, her expression grave. "Calm yourself, Gorthak. We must first understand the nature of this new human weapon before we can devise a proper response." The Cygnian hegemony's representative, Xyloth, had been rushed to the council's medical facility, his wounds dire. The other members listened with growing unease as he recounted the horrifying events on Earth, his tentacles trembling with a mixture of pain and fear. "The weapon," Xyloth gasped, his voice strained. "It was unlike anything I have ever witnessed. A blinding flash of energy, followed by unimaginable agony. We never even had a chance to react." Silence fell over the chamber as the council members digested this information, their faces etched with a mixture of shock and dread. The implications were clear. The humans, once dismissed as insignificant, had somehow developed a technological capability that could pose a grave threat to the Galactic Council's dominance. Vilara, her brow furrowed in deep contemplation, broke the silence. "We must convene a special session of the Galactic Council immediately. This is a matter of the utmost urgency. The very stability of our galactic order is at stake." The other members nodded in agreement, their expressions grim. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, a palpable sense of unease hung in the air. The once unassailable Galactic Council now found itself facing a challenge that threatened to upend the delicate balance of power they had so carefully maintained for centuries. In the aftermath of the disastrous encounter on Earth, the council members knew that they could no longer afford to underestimate the human race. The stakes had been raised, and the future of the entire galactic community now hung in the balance. The time had come to confront the reality that the primitive, insignificant humans had somehow managed to acquire the means to challenge the might of the Galactic Council itself. As the special session convened, the representatives knew that the decisions they made in the coming days would reverberate through the stars, shaping the course of history for generations to come. The fate of the galaxy now rested precariously in their hands. The Galactic Council, its members shaken by the devastating attack on their delegation, wasted no time in marshaling its vast military resources for a full-scale invasion of Earth. Determined to crush the human uprising and reassert its dominance, the Council mobilized its most formidable fleets and legions, pouring every available resource into the impending assault. Gorthak, the Clatharian representative, stood before the assembled forces, his booming voice echoing through the cavernous hangar. "The humans have dared to defy the Galactic Council, and for that, They will pay the ultimate price. We will descend upon their primitive planet and grind their pathetic resistance to dust. The gathered troops let out a thunderous roar of approval, their weapons gleaming in the harsh artificial light. The Galactic Council had never before committed such a massive force to the subjugation of a single world, but the stakes had never been higher. The very stability of the interstellar order hung in the balance, and the Council was determined to crush the human threat once and for all. As the fleet prepared for its fateful journey to Earth, the leaders of the human resistance watched the unfolding events with a mixture of trepidation and resolve. They knew that the Galactic Council's retribution would be swift and merciless, but they also understood that the time had come to stand their ground and defend their rightful place in the cosmos. President Evelyn Archer, her steely gaze fixed on the holographic display, addressed the assembled commanders of the human forces. The Galactic Council may have the advantage in numbers and firepower, but we have something more powerful, the unwavering spirit of the human race. We will not be cowed, and we will not surrender. This is our home, and we will fight to the last breath to protect it. The commanders nodded in agreement, their expressions hardening with determination. They had spent the past months fortifying Earth's defenses, drawing upon the planet's limited technological resources and the ingenuity of its people to develop new weapons and strategies to counter the Galactic Council's onslaught. As the alien armada approached, the skies above Earth erupted in a dazzling display of firepower, the human forces unleashing a relentless barrage of energy beams and missile strikes. The Galactic Council's ships, momentarily caught off guard by the ferocity of the human resistance, suffered heavy casualties, their hulls breached, and their systems crippled. Gorthak, his face contorted with rage, ordered his troops to press the attack, but the humans refused to be intimidated. They fought with a ferocity and tenacity that belied their perceived technological inferiority, their innovative tactics and weapons proving to be a formidable match for the Galactic Council's superior numbers and firepower. As the battle raged on, the human resistance began to gain the upper hand, inflicting heavy casualties on the invading forces. The Galactic Council's commanders, their confidence shaken, were forced to reevaluate their strategies, struggling to find a way to break the humans' stubborn defiance. In the command center, President Archer watched the unfolding conflict with a grim determination, her eyes narrowing as she observed the Galactic Council's forces faltering. "They underestimated us once," she murmured, her voice laced with a hint of triumph. "They will not make that mistake again." The fate of the human race and the balance of power in the galaxy now hung in the balance, as the titanic struggle for Earth's future continued to rage. As the brutal battle for Earth raged on, the once formidable Galactic Council found itself increasingly beleaguered and divided. The tenacity and resourcefulness of the human resistance had taken them by surprise, shattering their confidence and exposing the cracks in their unified front. Within the hallowed halls of the council chambers, the representatives traded heated accusations and impassioned pleas, their carefully cultivated veneer of diplomacy crumbling in the face of the escalating crisis. Gorthak, the Clatharian commander, slammed his fist on the table, his voice booming with frustration. "This is unacceptable. We are the Galactic Council, the most advanced civilizations in the cosmos, and yet we are being pushed back by these primitive humans. We must redouble our efforts and crush their resistance once and for all." Vilara, the Azurian ambassador, regarded Gorthak with a cool, measured gaze. "And at what cost, Gorthak? Our fleets are taking heavy losses, and our resources are being stretched thin. We must consider the long-term consequences of this conflict, lest we risk tearing the Galactic Council apart." The chamber fell silent, the tension palpable as the representatives contemplated the gravity of the situation. For centuries, the Galactic Council had maintained a delicate balance of power, its authority unquestioned, and its decisions unchallenged. But now, that fragile equilibrium threatened to collapse under the weight of the human uprising. Perhaps Xylov, the battered Cygnian ambassador, spoke up, his tentacles twitching with a hint of uncertainty. We have underestimated the humans once too often. Their resilience and ingenuity have proven to be more formidable than we anticipated. We must reconsider our approach, lest we suffer an even greater defeat. Gorthak's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenching in barely contained rage. Reconsider? Xylov, you would have us surrender to these upstart humans. I will not stand for it. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of shouts and protests, the Galactic Council teetering on the brink of outright discord. The once unified front had shattered, each representative now driven by their own agendas and fears, unwilling to compromise in the face of the human challenge. As the debate raged on, reports continued to filter in from the front lines, detailing the devastating toll the conflict was taking on the Galactic Council's forces. Morale was plummeting, and the tide of the war had begun to turn, with the humans gaining the upper hand through their ingenious tactics and unwavering determination. President Evelyn Archer, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays in the human command center, allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. "They're finally starting to realize that we are not to be underestimated," she murmured, her lips curving into a humorless smile. The Galactic Council, once the unquestioned masters of the galaxy, now found itself in the throes of a crisis that threatened to unravel the very fabric of its power. The human resistance, once dismissed as insignificant, had emerged as a formidable force that refused to be cowed, forcing the Council to confront the possibility of a humiliating defeat. As the battle raged on, and the divisions within the Council deepened, the future of the galaxy hung in the balance, with the outcome of this pivotal conflict poised to reshape the cosmic order for generations to come. The Galactic Council, battered and bruised from its costly campaign against the humans, was finally forced to sue for peace. The tide of the war had turned decisively in favor of Earth, with the human resistance proving to be a far more formidable foe than the Council had ever anticipated. In the aftermath of the bitter conflict, the representatives gathered once more in the hallowed halls of the Council chambers, their expressions etched with a mixture of resignation and reluctant respect. Gorthak, his imposing frame bearing the scars of the battle, stood before his colleagues, his voice laced with a hint of bitterness. "We have been defeated. The humans have proven their mettle, and we have no choice but to acknowledge their resilience and determination." Vilara, her regal demeanor betraying a rare glimpse of unease, nodded in agreement. "Indeed, the cost of this war has been staggering, both in lives and resources. We cannot continue this campaign without risking the very fabric of the Galactic Council itself." Xylov, his tentacles still wrapped in bandages from the initial attack on Earth, spoke up, his tone grave. "Then we have no choice but to sue for peace and grant the humans a place within the Galactic Council. To do otherwise would be to invite further conflict and upheaval that none of us can afford." The chamber fell silent, the representatives weighing the gravity of Xylov's words. For centuries, the Galactic Council had maintained an unwavering hierarchy, its authority unchallenged and its membership restricted to only the most advanced civilizations. The prospect of welcoming the upstart humans into their ranks was a bitter pill to swallow, one that threatened to undermine the very foundations of the Council's power. But as the realization of their defeat sank in, the representatives knew that they had no other choice. The humans had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, and denying them a seat at the table would only invite further conflict and instability. With a heavy heart, the Galactic Council extended an olive branch to Earth, offering the humans a place within their hallowed ranks. President Evelyn Archer, her eyes shining with a mixture of triumph and cautious optimism, stood before the Council, her voice clear and unwavering. "The people of Earth accept your offer, but with one condition. We demand reparations for the devastation your invasion has caused, as well as the establishment of Earth as an equal partner in the Galactic Council. We will no longer be treated as insignificant or subservient to your interests." The representatives exchanged uneasy glances, their pride and egos still smarting from the humiliation of their defeat. But they knew that they had little choice but to acquiesce to the humans' demands. Earth's technological capabilities, once dismissed as primitive, had proven to be a force to be reckoned with, and the Galactic Council could ill afford to alienate this new and formidable power. With a reluctant nod, the Council members agreed to the terms, sealing a new era of cooperation and partnership between Earth and the Galactic Council. The balance of power in the cosmos had been forever altered, and the once unassailable dominance of the Council had been shattered, replaced by a newfound respect for the resilience and determination of the human race. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, a palpable sense of uncertainty hung in the air. The future of the Galactic Council and the entire galactic community now rested precariously in the hands of this new alliance with the once dismissed human civilization. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but one thing was clear: the days of human complacency were over, and the cosmos would never be the same.